Hello, my name is Aurora Garcia Comer, the president of Black Student Union here at West Texas A&M University. Today, we are honoring the great civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Presented to you are students from a few of the diverse organizations on campus who will deliver different excerpts from the one and only Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., one of the world's greatest social activists who fought against economic and racial injustices. As he is known by his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, we should not forget the many other speeches Dr. King delivered throughout this nonviolent struggle for civil rights. As we reflect on these words of hope, love, unity, encouragement, determination, and change, something that we need now more than ever, think of how you can put King's dream into motion.
My name is DEANNDRA Murray, and I am doing the Love Your Enemy speech by MLK. During that time, he was trying to fight for something serious, something more important, to love your enemy, to connect with your neighbor, to show that we are different and to be one. Love your enemy. Loving your enemies is so basic to me because it's a part of my theological orientation. The whole idea of love, the whole philosophy of love. In the 5th chapter of Gospel, as recorded by St. Matthew, we read these very arguing words flowing from lips of the Lord and Master. Ye have heard that it has been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do go to them that hate you, and pray for them to despitefully use you. Your Father which is in heaven. Certainly these are great words lifted to cosmic proportion. And over the centuries, many people have argued that this is an extremely difficult command. Yes, it is love that will save our world and our civilization. Love even for our enemies. Now first, let us deal with this question, which is the practical question. How do you go about loving your enemy? I think the first thing is, in order to love your enemy, you must begin by analyzing yourself. I'm sure that seems strange to you, that I start off telling you this morning that you love your enemy by beginning with looking at yourself. Now, I'm aware of the fact that some people will not like you, not because of something you have done to them, but they just won't like you. I'm quite aware of that. Some people aren't going to like the way you walk. Some people aren't going to like the way you talk. Some people aren't going to like you because you can do your job better than they can do theirs. Some people aren't going to like you because other people's like you. And because you're popular and because you're well liked, they aren't going to like you. Some people aren't going to like you because your hair is a little shorter than theirs or your hair is a little longer than theirs. Some people aren't going to like you because your skin is a little brighter than theirs, and others aren't going to like you because your skin is a little darker than theirs. A second thing that an individual must do in seeking to love his enemy is to discover the element of good in his enemy. Every time you begin to hate that person and think of hating that person and realizing that there is some good there, and look at those good points which will overbalance the bad points. Another way that you love your enemy is this. When the opportunity presents itself for you to defeat your enemy, that is the time which you must not do it. There will come a time in many instances when the person who hates you most, the person who misused you most, the person who has gossiped about you the most, the person who has spread false rumors about you the most, they will come in at times when you have opportunities to defeat that person. It might be in terms of a recommendation for a job. It might be in terms of helping that person to make some move in life. That's the time you must do it. That is the meaning of love. In the final analysis, love is not this sentimental something that we talk about. It's not merely an emotional thing. Love is creative, understanding goodwill for all men. It is a refusal to defeat any individual. When you rise to the level of love, its great beauty and power, you seek only to defeat evil systems. Individuals who happen to be caught up in that system, you love, but you seem to defeat the system. So this morning, as I look into your eyes and into your eyes of all of my brothers in Alabama and over America and over the world, I say to you, I love you. I would rather die than hate you. And I'm foolish enough to believe that through the power of this love somewhere, men of the most recalcitrant bent will transform. And then we will be in God's kingdom. We will be able to matriculate into a universal of eternal life because we had the power to love our enemies, to bless those people that cursed us, to even decide to be good to those people who hated us. And when we even prayed for those people who despitefully used us. Oh God, help us in our lives and in our attitudes to work out the controlling forces of love. This controlling power that can solve every problem that we confront in all areas. Oh, we talk about politics, we talk about problems facing our atomic civilization. Grant that all men will come together and discover that as we solve this crisis and solve these problems, the international problem, the problem of atomic energy, the problem of nuclear energy, and yes, even the race problem, let us join together in great fellowship of love and bow down at the feet of Jesus. Give us this strong determination. In the name and spirit of this Christ, we pray. Amen.
Hi, my name is TYRONE LEGGETT. I'm a junior. I'm a health science pre-healthcare major. I chose the letter from Birmingham jail written by Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963. Dr. King was in jail because of protesting and wanting to negotiate the segregation that was going on inside Birmingham, Alabama, which resulted him into being put in jail. My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across a recent statement calling your present activities unwise and untimely. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Anyone who lives in the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds. In any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps. 1, collection of the facts to determine whether injustices are alive. 2, negotiation. 3, self-purification. And 4, direct action. We have gone through all these steps in Birmingham. Birmingham is the problem of the most thoroughly segregated city in the United States. Political leaders constantly refuse to engage in good faith negotiation. We were the victims of a broken promise. As in so many experiences in the past, we were confronted with blasted hopes. And the dark shadow of a deep disappointment settled upon us. We started having workshops on nonviolence and repeatedly asked ourselves the questions: are you able to accept the blows without retaliating? Are you able to endure the ordeals of jail? Nonviolent direct action seeks to create such a crisis and establish such creative tension that a community that has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. For years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with a piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. I hope, sirs, you can understand our legitimate and unavoidable impatience. A just law is a man-made code that squares with the moral law or the law of God. An unjust law is a code that is out of harmony with the moral law. An unjust law is a human law that is not rooted in eternal law and the natural law. Any law that uplifts human personality is just. Any law that degrades human personality is unjust, that will lead to anarchy. One who breaks the law willingly must accept the penalty.
Hello, I'm Ashley Oakes, a member of the McNair Scholars Program. King delivered this sermon at the Central Methodist Church as his second message of the week for the noon Lenten services. He argues that to love one's enemies was not the pious injunction of a utopian dreamer, but the words of a practical realist, noting that love is a display of strength. Loving your enemies. And our civilization must discover that. Individuals must discover that as they deal with other individuals, there is a little tree planted on a little hill, and on that tree hangs the most influential character that ever came into the world. But never feel that that tree is a meaningless drama that took place on the stages of history. Oh no, it is a telescope through which we look into the long vista of eternity and see the love of God breaking forth into time. It is an eternal reminder to a power-drunk generation that love is the only way. It is an eternal reminder to a generation depending on nuclear and atomic energy and a generation depending on physical violence that love is the only creative, redemptive, transforming power in the universe.
Hello, my name is ALLAN BALTAZAR, and I am a member of the Freshman Student Organization here at WT. I selected the Nobel Peace Prize 1964 acceptance speech given by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize at the height of the civil rights movement for his nonviolent struggle for civil rights for the African American population. I accept the Nobel Peace Prize at a moment when 22 million Negroes of the United States of America are engaged in a creative battle to end the long night of racial injustice. I accept this award on behalf of a civil rights movement which is moving with determination and a majestic scorn for risk and the danger to establish a reign of freedom and a rule of justice. I am mindful that only yesterday in Birmingham, Alabama, our children, crying out for brotherhood, were answered with fire hoses, snarling dogs, and even death. Therefore, I must ask why this prize is awarded to a movement which is beleaguered and committed to an unrelenting struggle, to a movement which has not won the very peace and brotherhood which is the essence of the Nobel Prize. In contemplation, I conclude that this award, which I receive on behalf of that movement, is a profound recognition that nonviolence is the answer to the crucial political and moral question of our time. The need for man to overcome oppression and violence with resorting to violence and oppression. Today, I come here as a trustee, inspired with renewed dedication to humanity. I accept this prize on behalf of all men who love peace and brotherhood. I say I come as a trustee, for in depths of my heart, I'm aware that this prize is much more than an honor to me personally. Every time I take a flight, I'm always mindful of the many people who make a successful journey possible, the known pilots and the unknown ground crew. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right temporarily defeated is stronger than evil triumphant. I believe that even amid today's mortal bursts and whining bullets, there is still hope for a brighter tomorrow. I believe that wounded justice, lying prostrate on the blood-flowing streets of our nations, can be lifted from this dust of shame to reign supreme among the children of men. I have the audacity to believe that peoples everywhere can have 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality and freedom for their spirits. I believe that what self-centered men have torn down, men, others-centered, can build up.
Hey y'all, I'm Sagarian Grayson, a junior marketing major at West Texas A&M. I find it disheartening that more than 60 years after the civil rights movement, the newspaper headlines today look very similar to headlines when Dr. King was fighting for the rights of all people. I have selected excerpts from Dr. King's Lincoln Memorial Address. So we have come here today to dramatize an appalling condition. In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men would be guaranteed the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment and to underestimate the determination of the Negro. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship right. We cannot walk alone, and as we walk, we must take the pledge that we shall march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied. As long as our bodies, heavy with fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of highways and the hotels of cities, we cannot be satisfied as long as Negroes' basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
Hi, my name is TYRONE Lockhart. I'm a broadcast journalism major and I'm a junior. I chose The Three Major Evils of Society by Martin Luther King Jr. I chose this speech because the sentiments still ring true from today. There's things that he was talking about in 1967 that are still very here and very apparent today. So that's why I chose this speech. The three major evils. the evil of racism, the evil of poverty, and the evil of war. There are 3 things I wanted to deal with today. Now let's turn to the first thing, the evil of racism. There can be no gainsaying from the fact that racism is still alive and all over America. Racial injustice is still the Negro's burden and America's shame. We must face the hard facts that many Americans would like to have a nation where democracy is for white Americans, but simultaneously a dictatorship over Black Americans. We must face the fact that we still have so much to do in the areas of race relations. The second evil that I want to deal with is the evil of poverty. Some 40 million of our brothers and sisters are poverty-stricken, unable to gain the basic necessities of life. And so often we allow them to be invisible because our society is so affluent and we don't see the poor. Now there is nothing new about poverty. It has been with us for centuries. What is new at this point is that we have so many resources, and now we have skills, and now we have techniques to get rid of poverty. The question is whether our nation has the will. Now to deal with the third evil that constitutes the dilemma of our nation and of the world. And that evil is war. We have left ourselves as a nation morally and politically isolated in the world. We have greatly strengthened the forces of the reaction of America and excite violence and hatred among our own people. We have diverted attention from civil rights. During a period of war, when our nation becomes obsessed with the guns of war, social programs inevitably suffer. Those who are telling me that I need to keep my mouth shut, I can't do that. I'm against segregation at lunch counters, and I'm not going to segregate my moral concerns. And we must know that on some positions, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expedience asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there are times that we must take a stand that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular. But we must do it because it is right.
Hello, I'm Angela Allen, Chief Officer for Diversity and Inclusion. Today we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King said, "Education must enable one to sift and weigh evidence, to discern the true from the false, and the real from the unreal, and the facts from the fiction." He also said that intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. The administration, faculty, and staff at West Texas A&M University realize the importance of helping our students achieve their dreams. As laid out in WT 125 and fueled by our historic One West comprehensive campaign, our mission is to send our students from the Panhandle to the world, equipped to handle the daily challenges they may face and to be accepting of all mankind. We are one. Thank you, Dr. King, for giving your precious life so our students can fulfill their dreams.
We will not be here today without MLK and other protesters who fought the way for young Black African Americans like myself to be able to go to college and high school and to be able to be a successful young Black man. Without MLK, I would not be here.
Thank you, Dr. King, for being part of a great significant movement that has greatly impacted many people around our country and has created great opportunities for not only my friends, but also myself. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. King. Because of your journey, it has allowed me to have my journey.
Thank you, Dr. King, for paving the way for our future.
Thank you, Dr. King. Because of the battles that you fought, I am better equipped for the battles that lie ahead.